this is as we were going through the story we're going to share you today, my mindset was to have this cast of characters on the show today, and kind of reiterate what happened from their own point of view. It's just kind of exciting. Not only just to have all these people and the caliber of people we have on here, but to be able to walk through a deal from almost from the networking sense early on, where I found the opportunity for the buyer up until the end, up until like the day of closing, where, just appreciating that. But, so on the show today, we have 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗵𝗵, who is the attorney, 𝗵𝘃𝗲𝗀, returning guest. He was on one of the first 20 episodes, episode 17. And he's on here today. He was the attorney of record for the buyer in this deal. I have 𝗬𝘃𝗃𝗵𝗁. 𝗬𝘃𝗃𝗵𝗁. I had to create a list, episode 19, tips 57, 87, 90. But his kind of first show he did was episode 18 and 19 with Brandon, that he works with, doing kind of the top 10 things that the lenders are seeing investors mess on. So that's a great one to go back on. We have 𝗦𝘃𝗃𝗃𝗀𝘀, who is our buyer in the scenario. He was on episode 145, went from the NFL to be a real estate investor. Now he's investing a whole bunch of different things. But in this particular episode, he is the buyer in our story. And the listing agent, we tried having him on here, Tim Binning. He's anyone in the Western suburbs knows Tim Binning. He owns the 𝗬𝘃𝗃𝗃𝗀𝘃 St. Charles, Bloomingdale. But I think if I'm going to try doing is get hit to kind of a follow-up 5 minutes, to have him record at the end to kind of hear from his point of view. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. I don't know if you guys say this. We have so many people, so I'll say hi.
Thanks.
Everyone wave, even though it's an audio podcast.
Yeah, wave.
Hey. By the way, on your water tip, I was going to tell you, if you have like a single family house or anything, one of the ones that people forget to do is remember to unscrew the hoses off the outside of home.
Yeah.
If you don't shut off the water line, that'll burst your pipe. So
it sounds like you've had experience. Is that where that's coming from?
From clients, actually.
Okay.
So I'll pass that knowledge.
And Mark forgot to mention that you were also the buyer's agent.
Oh yeah.
So, shit. There's that. You got to toot your own horn a little bit.
Also known from episode 1 through 177. You could reference back and check those episodes out. So,
guys, let's dive in here. So, Matt, I'm going to start with you. What was the origination of this deal? Were you looking specifically what market were you looking in? How did this just at least come on your radar?
Yeah, so I've been kind of looking in the western and southwestern suburbs of Chicago. And I think my past episode had a bunch of stuff in the Naperville area. And honestly, Mark is the one who brought this to me. I was in my kitchen and get a call from Mark, and you're not always excited to get a call from your property manager. No offense, Mark. But he presented the deal to me, kind of an off-market, kind of a connection deal, and went to go check it out. So that's kind of the beginning of the process.
All right. So let me turn it over to Mark. What was the relationship like? Why did this deal come across your desk?
Well, I think this is huge because this started, right now it's October and we just closed not too long ago, but this started back in May when Tim Binning, who was ultimately the listing agent on this deal, I heard through somebody in my family's, my uncle's brother, that Tim had some off-market properties that he was going to be selling single-family homes in Hoffman Estates. So I reached out to him about that. I knew that they're great properties. I was considering for myself. If not myself, I knew somebody that would buy them. So I reached out to him, and he actually kind of blew me off first couple of times. I'm not sure if he knew my reason for reaching out, but I stayed on top of it. So that's kind of the first point. I followed up with him a couple of times, but finally me and him connected, and ultimately the properties you're selling off are going to end up selling off at owner occupied rates, like the 300s, where renting just didn't make sense. I was kind of looking for that. If I could get for a 4 cap or something like that, we could probably find a way to make something happen for it. But ultimately on that conversation and on that call with Tim back in May, we started talking about, and Tim, if you're listening, I don't know if you remember this, but we started talking about DST, which is, I meant to look it up. DST is a type of exchange where you could do a 1031 into a DST instead of, it's basically a REIT that you can roll 1031s into. And this is something I've been a couple weeks ago, I was looking out to see if we could do a whole episode on this because it's kind of interesting. But me and him ended up talking about that. We had a good rapport. I was telling him, hey, if you know anyone, we're looking for a property manager. And I said, hey, if you know anyone if you got any off-market properties, I know you got a lot of connections. I got buyers and I got management and all that stuff. So ultimately, it was a couple weeks later, June 6th, where he actually sent me a random call. I mean, it was literally 45 seconds before I reached out to you, Matt. He's like, I got this 5 unit, because you and me, Matt, were talking for a couple of days on some other multi-units you were looking at in Batavia and Geneva. And like, I don't know, I think the point I'm trying to make in all this is just kind of top of mind. Tim reached back out to me because I was top of mind on him. And then I reached out to you because you were top of mind to me. So it's just kind of one of those things that if you continue to talk to people, it's huge.
Yeah, let me piggyback that. I mean, if you went to lunch with a broker 6 months ago, they've forgotten about you, right? It's not their job to remember you. It is your job to ensure that you are the person that is remembered, whether that be through, getting face to face, sending anything that would add value to them, referring people to them, whatever it is your job to stay top of mind, which it sounds like both of you guys did here. Matt making it very clear that he was looking for a property. Mark making it very clear to the agent, like, hey, I have people looking for a property. Right. There's so many examples we can go down rabbit holes of, like, this is how deals get done. So, all right. So you like this deal, you walk it. Let's get the first impression. Matt, you go out there and walk it. Do you have a contractor with you? You going solo, you and Mark? And then what were the vibes?
Mark, first time, were you with me the first time?
I think so when I introduced it to you, I wasn't trying to be a broker. I've never, I haven't done too many broker deals. I kind of made the intro. I said, if you want me to represent you, I'll do it. I never want to be that broker trying to weasel in on, like, trying to get commission. I never want to make that feeling. So I was very distant. Matt, let me know if you need help. I connected him with Tim. And I think you did want me to come out. So a couple of days later, I did meet you out at the property. That I think it was a Friday morning. You and me met there.
Yeah, me and Tim actually met out there together first.
Oh, okay.
And then I had you come out my first impression of the property was just super clean, great area. And there was a bunch of value add. I walked in and it was listed as a 1.5. And I walked down in the basement, and right away I'm like, this is a 3-bedroom side-by-side townhomes here. The money play is here. It worked. They have their own separate garages. So it was very, very clean play was the first impression that I had, and value add, of course.
Can I set the tone of the property for the listeners? Because obviously we all know what it looks like, but think about this. This is in Batavia, for anyone who's familiar, on the west side of the river, kind of a few streets into the neighborhood on the west side there. A lot of older houses there, but this particular property in the middle of it is a 150-year-old 3-story. It might look like a school, but it was actually a sanitarium. So if anyone's familiar with the Fox Valley, like that yellow Joliet limestone building, and the actual original building in the middle of, maybe call it 10 acres, 10-acre, 15-acre property, was that sanitarium. And the cool part about this, and this kind of ties into our Chicago fact, is there's a little plaque on there that says 𝗫𝘃𝗏 Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's wife, actually spent time there. Anyone that's done any research on Abraham Lincoln, 𝗫𝘃𝗏 had some mental illness, stuff like that. And back then it was even harder to figure out what that was wrong with people. But so it's kind of cool. My first thought is, like, I was picturing, like, seeing Abraham Lincoln with a big ass hat across the lawn. But what they did is they took some developer came at some point, took that old sanitarium, turned into, I think it was 18 condos. And then they built, probably about 30 years ago, I want to say there's probably about 25 or 30 townhouses, and they're all built in these 5 section blocks. And what was up for sale was 1 section block of this property. So there's within an association, but it's kind of all 5 connected together, 5 different pins. And we'll talk about the pin story in a few minutes, how it kind of scared the heck out of me. But yeah, so I just want to kind of paint the picture for what we're looking at here.
Yep. All right. So do you guys offer right away? You walk it. What happens next?
So did not offer right away. I knew I wanted to get involved with it, or at least put an offer out. So I started reaching out to different lenders, and kind of sent the lenders the OM. They looked it over and just could not get financing for some reason for this place. So we were having a very difficult time doing it. They didn't value the property at what I thought it was worth, or what the listing agent or the seller thought it was worth. So the deal kind of, I guess, evaporated, and they went with someone else to start with. So
Matt, real quick, is this because of the existing in place NOI? Like there was not enough there was not enough income to justify the purchase price.
In the other lenders, yes. In their minds, yes. Got it.
Okay. I've been in very similar situations, and I feel you called the same person I called. We'll get to that in a second.
Exactly.
All right. So we pass on this thing. Do they actually go under contract with someone else?
Yes. So they went under contract with someone else. I forgot about it. Whatever. It's done. It's in the past. And then many months later, Tim calls me again and says, hey, it's on the market again. So for some reason, I decided to go look at it again, talked with my lender again, seeing if we could do anything. Was able to put out a little better of an offer price, but still wasn't enough for them. So they accepted another contract again. So I'm 0 for 2 right now on this property.
Got it. Just a quick little note there. When you lose a deal, and it was weird, the last year because things were so damn hot, but in a quote unquote normal market, when you lose a deal, the first thing I do is put in the 2-week and the 30-day follow-up, right? Just because you're going to forget about it. You make a lot of, especially when you're making a lot of offers, you'll forget. But if it's in your calendar, you just put the listing agent's email address and it pops up in 2 weeks. You say, hey, things running smoothly. Cool. Congrats. If not, I'm here. Just so you can try to swipe it before it ever comes back there. So that's my little 2 cents to add. All right. So it goes under contract again. We forget about it again. I'm assuming that the next step is Tim calls you and says, hey, it's me again.
Yeah. So exactly. Or I might have reached out to him because I saw it back on the market. Either way, it comes back on the market. One of us reaches out to each other. This time I contact Mark and was like, hey, do you know anybody in the lending field that can possibly get this done? And then brought it to a new lender, had him look over it, and we were able to put a competitive offer price out there, which has Mark can go a little bit deeper into that, has a bunch of little strings to it, bells and whistles on the offer price that are pretty cool. We were going back and forth for a while with that, but ultimately we were able to get it done.
Well, I think backing up there. So I wrote here third pass or second pass, but it was really the third. You'd be the third contract on this property. You called me. I remember exactly where I was walking in South Loop down Michigan Avenue. And you called me up and I was talking, and I remember it was loud, and it was on August 11th because I was going to soiree afterwards. So I remember the date specifically, and you and me were talking through it. I think this is a very important part of the conversation. You and me were talking through why we wanted to find a way to make this deal work. It wasn't because of probably the original reasons you thought 2 or 3 months before. It was because as the market was changing and you've seen a lot more inventory come or go or not exist, this looked more attractive, and it was more of a long-term look. Because I know originally, and maybe you want to talk about this, one of your original plans was to cash out some or maybe do a little burr and pull some out, but that changed for you, I think, kind of in that day or that moment, correct?
Yeah. So originally, and we'll talk about the different parcels as well, I thought about possibly fixing up these condos or townhomes and then selling a couple off individually and keeping a couple. I had multiple streams in which I was going to go about it. I think the burr method is still in my head just because this is such a value play, but it is something I will keep for a long time. I think we can definitely get the NOI up, and it's going to be worth a lot more. And like you said, when we had that conversation, I truly figured out the value of the property, and I really found out I really wanted to go forward with it because you kind of helped me walk through it. And yeah, and it helped a bunch in that aspect.